the world's best ever 15. I've assembled the world's best 15, in my opinion, who I think deserves the accreditation, who deserves to be in the World 15. Let me know who you would pick in your World 15 below. If you liked the video, give it a like. Subscribe as well if you want to see future content. It's just all about rugby, really. And a game, you know, I've been playing for what, like 20, 26, 27 years of my life already. So let's give back to the game, and you let me know what you think about the 15. I mean, there's a couple ones that people are probably going to disagree with, but let's get into it. So you got the first, so, you know, I'm going with Osterund. Okay, Osterund at number 1. You let me know what you think below, but the guy, I mean, he played for so many years, you know, won 2 World Cups, 1995, 2007. The man is a beast, and he solidified that number 1 position for many years, and he was never manhandled. And this was, you know, when scrums weren't touch, pause, engage, and then, you know, bind and blah, 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 blah. This was just, you know, the scrums would turn up and they just bang straight into each other. So, you know, you pretty much can't even have a neck, to be honest. Now, number 2, I'm going up to the Northern Hemisphere, going to Ireland, going with Keith Wood from Ireland, the number 2. I mean, he is the only front rower ever to win Player of the Year from World Rugby, and he was the inaugural one. He won the first ever. Obviously, his win rating is not the best at 41%, but, you know, Ireland was going through some tough times. And you can see he played 5 caps for the British and Irish Lions as well. And, you know, John Smith, the Old South African captain, did talk greatly about Keith Wood, and he said when he turned up and played against Keith Wood, you know, Keith Wood pretty much showed him all the tricks in the book to say, you know, welcome to the big league, son. The next one here, and also I'm presenting it like this because if I present it, a lot of the pictures I put in aren't actually showing. So sorry if that's annoying, but we're going on to number 3. This is probably the first controversial one. Some people might agree, some disagree. Going with Owen Franks. So the man played 108 tests for the All Blacks, 2 World Cup wins. I mean, a few Super Rugby championships. The dude was solid. With him in the team was an 84% winning percentage, which is insane. And 230 club and, you know, provincial appearances. And the funniest thing about the 108 caps for the All Blacks, he's the only player to ever get over 100 caps and not score a try. So he just doesn't know how to find the line, unfortunately. And that's number 3. So that's the front row. So you got Osterund, Keith Wood, and Owen Franks. You know, that's a pretty damn solid front row, in my opinion. Number 4, you got John Eales, another controversial one. You know, a lot of people would go Victor Matfield. A lot of people could go a lot of directions, actually. You know, you could go Eben Etzebeth if you're looking just from South Africa's point of view. You can go Brodie Retallick. You know, a lot of players you could go for here, but I go for John Eales. This is when it was the golden era of Australian rugby. 2 World Cups, nearly an 80% win rate. He goal kicked. He captained them. I mean, the guy's an all-around great player. His lineouts were solid. He led the team from the front. And that's number 4 for me, John Eales. He brings that leadership with him as well. Number 5, Martin Johnson. Another controversial pick, but, you know, the man, he was the leader for that English team. And this was when England's rugby was really good, you know, before that World Cup. I mean, 79% win rate. You know, they were beating South Africa. They were beating the All Blacks. They were beating all the top teams, you know, at this point in time that England were beating. I mean, he played for 16 years, 85 caps, a World Cup win, 8 caps for the British and Irish Lions, and 362, you know, club and all that kind of appearances for Leicester, etc. So, you know, I think he deserves it. He might not be the most, I guess, you know, let's say athletic and all that, but he hit the rucks. He led from the front. He would take those carries. And, you know, I'm not an English supporter at all. To be honest, it's probably my most disliked team usually, but the man deserves it, just in my opinion. Now at number 6, he's a current player, and he's Peter Steph du Toit. So to me, you know, watching him from, you know, 2012 all the way through. 2 World Cups. I mean, 2 players of the year, World Player of the Years. The guy is just a weapon. He stood up in that World Cup final. His tackles are just bone crunching. The dude deserves it. He deserves all the awards he's getting. He's just a motor, just an absolute motor. You could have gone a few other ones. You could have gone, Jerome Kino here. You could have gone Jerry Collins. You could have gone a few. Another shout out, I guess, is to Dusatois as well from France. But I think Peter Steff, and he's still got so much to give. And the dude's already played 84 games, 60% win rate, 2 World Cups, man, and 2 World Player of the Year. So, and he's still going. He's got quite a few years left in him. So well done to him, I think. And then at number 7, I mean, it's a pretty obvious call, right? I mean, if you don't pick this guy at number 7, then, you just don't know rugby, in my honest opinion. It's Richie McCaw. The dude breathes rugby. The dude led New Zealand for such a long time. I mean, 148 caps, 27 tries, 2 World Cups. Some say, obviously, I count the tours, but 142 caps, I guess, properly for New Zealand, 15 years, 2 World Cup wins, 88% win rate, which is insane. 3-time World Player of the Year, first ever player to get 3 times. Well, 2 times, let alone. And, he led Canterbury, he led his club teams, the Crusaders, to quite a few championships as well. So the dude deserves it, man. He could be maybe the greatest of all time, maybe behind one of his old teammates, in my opinion. And, this is coming from a Box supporter and also a Hurricane supporter when it comes to the Super Rugby currently. Number 8. This could go a few ways. Could have gone Sergio Parise, but I'm going Zinzan Brook on this one. The dude changed, how the position was played. He played 8 nearly like a back, but he had the physicality of an 8. He took the ball off the back of scrums. He did drop kicks. The dude did everything. 87% win rate, drop goals. I mean, what else do you want, man? Like, seriously, 17-year career, 100 caps. And, back then, that 100 caps is a lot. They weren't playing a lot of test rugby back then. So to get that much, it just shows that he was there, consistent, never got injured pretty much. So good on him. I think he deserves it. Growing up, he was just finishing up and everyone just talks so highly of Zinzan. That's why so many people call their kids Zinzan nowadays as well. On to number 9. This is yet again another polarizing decision. But to me, growing up, and also just looking at how he led this team around the field, this is yet again another golden era for this country's rugby. Just an absolute beast. And the guy, his passes are always on point. He kind of reminds me of someone, obviously without the athleticism, everything that Dupont has, but a similar Dupont. He always had heads up. He read the plays perfect, always put his guys in great positions. And that's George Gregan. So 13-year career, 139 caps, 1 World Cup win, 67% win rate, and 197. I mean, quite a few championships for the Brumbies as well for Super Rugby. And this was in the heyday of Super Rugby, right? When they were at their best. But yeah, he just gave that pill to Larkham all the time and it was great. It was great to watch. Even though, as a Box supporter, I didn't like him, but you could just respect the heck out of him. He was never a dirty player. He was always well respected. So the little magician, George. Number 10 is pretty obvious again. So Dan Carter from New Zealand, 112 caps. If he didn't get injuries and everything, he'd have even more. He'd have 2 World Cups if it wasn't for injuries and all that. So unfortunately, he missed out on that 2011 one with injury. 3-time Player of the Year, World Player of the Year, Super Rugby Players of the Year. I mean, the dude just killed it. He's the leading point scorer in whole world rugby history, and he's got 112 caps. So imagine if he didn't get injured, he would even have a bigger gap. And number 11, I think this is pretty easy talk. No one ever got triple teamed or double teamed all the freaking time. I can't even think of anyone in history right now where they always have 2 defenders or 3 defenders on a guy. And that's Jonah Lomu. I mean, South Africa in that 1995 World Cup final, they had 3 people on him at all time. They were like, you are not... He was running over as you can see here, running over number 8s, running over props. He was running over everyone, and he was still like the fastest guy on the field. So I got to watch him at North Harbour in New Zealand. Growing up, he only played like a few games, but at least I got to see him, and I was very happy to be able to see him. That's all I can say. I just wish his career wasn't cut short. I wish his life wasn't cut short. A few people I know were friends of him from New Zealand, and they all just have nothing but nice things to say. So, John Lumu at number 11. I mean, the probably second best number 11, obviously, is someone else, but, Rupini Thautau, imagine if he just was switched on from the start of his career, the dude would be unstoppable. In at number 12. Probably not many people know him, watched him, but the guy, everyone I talk to, my dad, all of them who's been watching rugby since way back when, from the 60s. Philippe Sella from France, a 16-year career, 111 caps, and yet again, they were not playing a lot of test matches back then. And to get 111 with 30 tries, that's a 65% win rate. Insane. He played 13 years for Argen, 2 or 3 seasons for Saracens, and even at his older age, he was still one of the best defenders in the whole Premiership and all the English rugby. The guy was a beast, and to me, he would just shut down pretty much any other 12 across from him. The guy's defense, his ball playing was great. He could kick. He was just an all-round number 12. Obviously, you look at Ma Nonu, people like that as well, but just as an all-round player, I would choose Sella myself. And not many people obviously watched him play, but if you're from that era, let me know how good he actually was, because I've seen highlights, I've seen videos, and you read and talk about it. And I don't want to be biased where I just pick players that I've seen play. So I think he deserves it. In at 13, I think, yet again, some people would think someone from the All Blacks, some people would think someone from a different country again, but I'm going with, he was the best centre for all the years that I ever watched when I was young. Six Nations, he owned them, all that type of stuff, and that's Brian O'Driscoll. To me, he was just legend. Even though, yet again, like I say, I'm Southern Hemisphere, South African supporter, lived in New Zealand. So to always just respect this guy, he was always one of my first players I used to buy on Rugby 08 and Rugby 05, all those type of games. Just absolute legend in my book. So well done to him. 133 caps, 49 tries, 60% win rate, 186 appearances for Leinster and all that, 61 tries, and 8 British and Irish Lions caps. He would have more if Tana Umaga didn't drop him on his head, unfortunately. But yeah, we move on to number 14. So he's usually a left side winger, but I think he has played on the right before anyway. He used to play at centre as well for the Lions, and that's Brian Habana from South Africa. Man, 124 caps, 67 tries, 63% win rate. I mean, he's got record amount of tries per game. 1 World Cup winner and 1 World Player of the Year winner. I believe at the time he was the first winger as well. So bravo to him. I wish my Lions would actually have kept him. I wish, he would have been such a great player all those years for the Gauteng Lions, but yeah, it wasn't to be, but he done well. Scored the game-winning try as well for Super Rugby as well for the Bulls against the Sharks in extra time, which was heart-wrenching because I was supporting the Sharks in that one. In that fullback, I think there's only one option. If this guy played more caps, the guy would be the highest try scorer in history at like a crazy rate, and that's Christian Cullen. Yeah, growing up, I mean, I was a little kid. I was born in 1993, so I was about 5 years old, 6 years old, waking up late at night to watch the Hurricanes play and watch Christian Cullen play, and the guy was just tearing threads. He was never the biggest, he was never the fastest on the field, but the dude he's like a Rolls Royce, right? It doesn't look very fast, but he's moving. He's moving at a very fast pace, sure. And the guy just killed it. I wish he'd play more games. 73% win rate, 60 caps, 52 tries. That's nearly 1 per game. 200 appearances for club and provincial, 114 tries, which is crazy. That's over half per game. at a high level and nearly one per game for the All Blacks. Yeah, that's next level. Now, for the bench, it's just going to show the whole bench here, and you let me know what you think about it. So I got Sean Fitzpatrick in on the bench at 16 for the backup hooker. I mean, captain the All Blacks. The guy's got a insane record. Where is he? Let's have a look. 128 games for the All Blacks, man. That's crazy. And yet again, back then, they weren't playing a ton of games every time, but he would play every damn game. And he always led from the front. He captained a lot of them. And an 85% win rate as well. So that's crazy. They got the Beast, Tendai Matawarira. Born in Zimbabwe, but played for South Africa for many years. The guy, the reason why I had to choose him, there's people who have better accolades than him, played more games, all that type of stuff. But who could you look at and you knew in the scrum, this guy could pretty much crunch anyone from 2006 through to like 2009. The guy was just the best one in the whole game, in my opinion. 117 tests for the Box, 63% win rate. Then you got Adam Jones, the ever lovable. Man, I used to really enjoy watching him, and I think yet again he was one of the best, if not the best, threes for many years in the world. The Welsh team wasn't the strongest, but around that 2009 to 2011 time, they really became strong, and they were challenging for the World Cup sort of thing. But he was one of the biggest parts of that because their scrum would not get pushed off. They would always be solid and held his own, and he played many games for British and Irish Lions on tour anyway, and I think he deserves it. Well done to him. Then you got Victor Matfield, captained the Box, played 128 games. Ivan Etzebeth just overtook him this year, 63% win rate, got a World Cup as well, which he was one of the inaugural parts. And I think as a line-out tactician, this guy is probably the best in history. So that's why I would put him in my team, because he would just bring that solidity, especially off the bench, just to bring the calm to that line-out. And imagine this is just like a bomb squad, that'll be insane. Then you got Adi Savia. Yet again, could have gone a few directions here. Could have gone Dusatois, could have gone Jerome Kino, could have gone Jerry Collins, but I think he's already played 94 games for the All Blacks. He's the best player on the field all the time. He breaks tackles left, right, and center. The guy can steal a ball. He's one of the best pilferers in the world, if not the best. The guy's just insane. You always got to pretty much change a game plan for where Artie is. And if he's kind of always had let's say Jerome Kino around him, or someone else at 6, he would just be able to roam free like Richie McCaw did. And also he would be able to cover 8, 7, or 6, where Victor will just cover for the second row. Then you got Antoine Dupont. Yet again, you could have gone a few different ones here. You could have gone Joost van der Westhuizen. You could have gone even Aaron Smith here as well. But I think Antoine is just going to keep going, right? He's going to get better and better. And if he sticks through it, he's probably going to be the best 9 in history. If he can keep playing at the same level and, stay injury-free, hopefully for him, I think he'd definitely be up there. He's played 55 tests already and 71% win rate. So he's got a big career in front of him. Then you got backup number 10 and backup number 12. I'm looking at Johnny Wilkinson. 91 appearances for England, 1,179 points, 73% win rate, which is very high for some of the English teams in history. Player of the match, World Cup final, right foot drop kick to win the World Cup. Who does that? Not even your good foot. Insane. Player of the tournament. Well done to him. And then you got Serge Blanco. Yet again, you could have gone a few different ones. You could have gone Ma Nonu. He has played wing early in his career. He has played all those sort of positions. But I'm going Serge Blanco. The guy can play wing. He can play fullback. He can fill in at center if you need. He didn't play too many games for France, only 48, but the guy, all you need to search is just some Serge Blanco highlights, and they will find it. So he had a career from 1986 onward, and me just looking back at games that he played when I was younger, all that type of stuff, you just see him and he was always the live wire, right? They just kind of find him out the back and he just makes a break or offload or something like that. So, and I think a lot of people think nowadays, they go, oh, well, modern day players would absolutely destroy these legendary 80s, 90s players. Yeah, like physically they would now because, it's way more professional. They have way more money in it. You can quit your day job at a very young age to chase the dream, work out all the time. All you do is breathe and, eat rugby pretty much. But if you gave these players the same tools they have now, some of these players would really just make some modern day players look silly, just in my opinion. So it's hard to compare eras, but you got to nearly compare it nearly like it was even, because what would they do if they had the exact same tools that they had back then? Now, the coach for the team. This was kind of tough, but I had to go with the guy who really, turned the All Blacks around again. He really made them the best team in the world again. And he even coached Wales at a point, even had over 50% win rate. And that's Sir Graham Henry. So 156 games coached in total, 121 wins, 78%, 106 games, and 90 wins for the All Blacks. He only lost 16 games in the whole 106 games, so 84.91%. It's not as high as Steve Hansen, but the reason why I give it to Graham is because he, was Steve's kind of coach. He always passed on his positions to him. So when Graham left Wales to go for the All Blacks coaching position, Steve took over there. And then Steve came over to the All Blacks as well. So you can see here, 34 games coached for the Welsh and 20 wins. And this was when Wales was, not a very great team. So for him to bring him up to nearly 60% win rate, I think he done a pretty damn good job there. And his win rate, when it comes to club rugby, all that type of stuff is really high as well. I think probably, to me, still the best coach in history with one World Cup to show for it. I mean, if he stayed for 2015, he would have had two, let's be honest, but he knew it was the right time to step down, and that's why I commend him as well, because he knew when to step down. He knew there was a succession plan. He was prepared for it. And that, when Graham was the coach, the All Blacks looked undefeatable. They always looked calm. They always looked professional. And like I said, he always had a succession plan. And I commend him for that, for preparing the team for the next step. But I'll end it there. Let me know if you agree, disagree with some positions. Let me know who you would change, who you would put in, who would be your 15. Let me know below. Like the video if you did like the video, and subscribe as well to see future videos. And I'll see you in the next one.